What is up, my fire amigos? Welcome back to the channel for another Black Ops 6 Zombies guide. What I have for you guys today is the main quest on the Reckoning. Before I start this guide, I'm going to say this once. This will be the S.A.M side of the main quest. I am not going to go through Richtofen's boss fight, mostly because I'm on the side of the fence of it's way too unfair, and I don't feel like going through the pain and torture of doing that boss fight just for you guys. But, with that being said, I will leave a link to a video that gives the best tips and tricks to beat Richtofen every time by the man himself, Jolts. But today's video is about doing the Easter egg, so let's go ahead and get started with the class. For the class, range is the name of the game when it comes to the boss fight. So the weapons I would like you guys to bring in would be any assault rifle, that being XM4, AS Val, Kilo, AMAX, Dresden 9mm, GPR 11, the DN10, GPMG7. The Maelstrom is an okay choice. The armor on S.A.M is the same thickness as the armor on the Z-Rex, so the shots are going to be hitting around 500 a pop compared to the assault rifles and LMG. So you can use it if you want to. I wouldn't recommend it. Let's go ahead and talk about the augments. For the perks, let's go ahead and start with Juggernog. One I want you guys to bring in for the major augment is Probiotic. Hands down, no exceptions. The minor augment, however, is a pick your poison. I'm using hardened plates, but this is one of the only maps where I would recommend Retaliation. How it works? For the health loss, you need to be below 50 HP in order to increase your damage dealt to an enemy. It's useful in the boss fight. For stamina, you're going to want Free Faller and then Hotfoot. Same old, same old. Free Faller in this case is helpful in the boss fight. We'll get to that in the boss fight. For Speed Cola, the major augment can be classic formula or supercharged. I'd rather you guys have supercharged. And then for the minor augment, just keep it at swap weapons faster. For Vulturade, you definitely want Picky Eater as the minor augment. And for the major augment, it can be either Smell of Death or the gas cloud that charges your field upgrade. That augment. For Quick Revive, Dying Wish is an augment I would say is a good augment to run, since you will get 2 perks in the S.A.M boss fight. And if you don't want to run Dying Wish, you can still run EMT and co-op. For Deadshot, increased critical damage is a must. And then the minor augment, I would just do Hipfire Spread. That's probably the best one for you. For Double Tap, for the major augment, you're going to want Double Standard, obviously. And then for the minor augment, either Double or Nothing or Double Time. One of those two. For PhD, Tribologist for sure for the minor augment. For sure, this is the only time I'm 1000% recommending PhD Slider. It's going to come in handy for a step in the Easter egg. For the field upgrade, if you're going to bring in Frenzy Guard, bring in the Frenzy Fire and the Frenzy Duration. For Ether Shroud, you're definitely wanting the Group Shroud again and the extension again. Extension's very helpful. There's also a trick with the extension and solo, and I'll get to that in the boss fight. Let's go on to the gumballs. There isn't a whole lot here. Same old from every boss fight. The usual 3. Nowhere but there, Phoenix Up, and Near Death Experience to help revive teammates in co-op. However, there are a couple gums that could be helpful. One of them is Insta-Kills. Insta-Kills will be very helpful. And then on top of that, if you want to bring in full power keg, go ahead and do so. As well as a max ammo. Alright. Now that we got the class out of the way, short class today, let's go ahead and get started with the steps. To start this main quest, we first need to go through the indicators, open up Pack-a-Punch, and then once you open up Pack-a-Punch, Richtofen says there's going to be a little errand to run in the Mutant Research Lab. So once you open up Pack-a-Punch, go there directly, and you're going to find this zombie called a Geneticist. This will spawn in the moment you enter this room and have Pack-a-Punch open. You can have this as low as round 5 if you play your cards right. What we need to do is kill this Geneticist, and they are going to drop a key card. Now with this key card, go to the right of the Marine Shotgun. You're going to notice this locked safe. Open up with the key card to grab the DNA vial. You will not be able to enter the boss fight if you do not have this. Keep that in mind. Once we have this DNA vial, the first thing we're going to need to do is enter the teleporter room. The first thing we need to access the teleporter room is going to be a syringe. And in the mutant research lab, take a left from Deadshot, you're going to notice this. I don't remember what this device is called, but it holds the syringes, and you just need to grab a syringe from here by interacting with it. Once you interact with this device, you need to head to the particle accelerator room. Once you have Pack-a-Punch open, you need to go through the particle beam, starting on the end with the metal rod pointing into the beam. Once this happens, you're going to be turned into a little orb. We need to knock down the zombie that's in here with a blue tie. Once the zombie gets knocked down, boop him with the syringe to collect his blood. Now we need to go back into the mutant research lab and insert it back into the centrifuge. That's what it was. Anyway, what this will do is going to cause a bunch of back-to-takes to open over time. The first one being the HVT Mangler. We need to kill this Mangler in order to pick up this score streak that'll be green. Once we have this Mangler killed and picked up the score streak, we need to go into Entity Containment and go up to this retinal scanner right here. All we need to do is interact with the retinal scanner and activate the mutant injection. This mutant injection lasts for a short amount of time. If you were to use this prematurely, as you see in this clip, you will have to buy it for 1,500 salvage. Keep that in mind. If you do this retinal scanner successfully by having it activated the moment you go to scan, it'll say this voice line here.
ID confirmed. Dr. Fowler, S. Teleporter access granted.
When you hear that voice line, you have the door open, and now we're going to need the Gorgofex Wonder Weapon. This can be done at any point in your game. But to start, we need to go down into the mutant research and look for these two flashing monitors, one next to Deadshot and one behind Mary and Samuel. All we're looking at is the first letter in the word of each word. So, for example, my word next to Deadshot was ruinous, and then my other word next to Mary and Samuel was ineviorate, or however you pronounce that. Anyways, the letters we need to find are R first and then E for the second. Those two letters. Once we find these two letters, go to the periodic table and find your element. My element was rhenium right here with a periodic number of 75. Once we have this, go up to this room right here and punch in 075 for 75. What we need to do now is buy PhD. With PhD, it'll help us do this process smoothly. What we need to do is kill 3 vermin and kill 3 zombies in front of this cyst, one at a time. Every time we kill these zombies, however, they need to be damaged just till they're on 1 health in order for the cyst to suck them in. PhD Slider is the perfect attribute to this, because if you slide it to a zombie, they'll instantly get sucked in. So one at a time, PhD slide into 3 unique vermin, and then 3 unique zombies. Once all 6 have been sucked into the cyst, this glass case will open and we can grab the cyst. Now we need to go into quantum computing, and next to these 3 mushrooms, one right next to the elevator, one right next to the jump cannon, and one right next to the ASG, we need to suck the essence out of the mushrooms with the cyst. Once all 3 have been sucked up, we can now go to Entity Containment, and there's going to be a set of Power Surge monitors. You need to initiate all 4 within a certain amount of time frame. Once this happens, an Uber-Klaus is going to spawn. Once you shoot off the shoulder pads off the Uber-Klaus, you need to lure him to this electrical rectangle. Once the Uber-Klaus is on the rectangle, the Forsaken will embody the Uber-Klaus, kill the Uber-Klaus, Forsaken Klaus, in order for him to drop a white orb, put the cyst into the white orb in order to grab the Gorgofex. Now that we have the Gorgofex, we can now start with the steps. There are 4 parts to this portal in order to get it running again. The first one involves a code. For this code, we need to examine 6 case files that are related to S.A.M. Only 4 of them will spawn on the map, and there are a total of 7 spawns. The first 2 are in the mess hall. The first one's on this far table right here. The second one's on this table close to the word help written in blood. The third one's on this table next to Elemental Pop. The fourth one's on this TV stand right here. The fifth one's going to be on Richtofen's desk. The 6th one is right here on the reception desk. And then the 7th one is going to be in the teleporter room itself right here. On these folders, you're going to see an image, a date, and a file number. How these are going to work We need to organize them by month of when they were found, and then organize them by number of the file number. Starting off with the ID badge, we have the number of 6 and then the month of June. Next one on the list is going to be the scarf. Number of 3 for the case file, month of August. The third one, we're going to have the katana, case file of 2, month of December. Next one's going to be the watch, case file 4, month of September. For the fifth one, we're going to have the goggles, case file of 5, month of October. And then finally, we're going to have the dog collar, case file of 1, month of July. Like I said, and it needs to be set in chronological order by date. So the months we have are June, July, August, September, October, December. And then the case files in that order are 6, 1, 3, 4, 5, and then 2. If you want to write that down, go ahead and do so. It's going to help you a lot for this next part. So in the case of my game, my 4 folders were the ID badge, the collar, the scarf, and then the goggles. So with the knowledge of the months first, then the case folder, I had the numbers of 6, 1, 3, 5. With these numbers in hand, we now need to go into the teleporter room and go to this computer right here. It needs a passcode. The passcode is what we just read off. So I need to type in the numbers 6, 1, 3, 5. If done correctly, the computer will say access granted, and now we need to go into the particle accelerator room and go all over here to this side with the teleporter that leads to the spawn. You're going to notice a bunch of zeros that are on the top screen and multiple screens that have the words initiate boost. For this boost, we need to press this red button right here, and then 5 quantum vermin are going to spew out of this blue orb in the middle. The first 2 spawns are over here on this scaffolding right here. The third spawn is over here on the elevator shaft. The fourth one is right above you on this piece of debris hanging from the ceiling, and then the fifth one's going to roam the floor. You need to kill all 5 quantum vermin. There are 2 ways to kill these quantum vermin. The first way is with the Gorgofex. That's the way they intended you to kill them with. The other way is that insta-kill gobblegum.
To be honest, I'd rather have
If you look above the buttons to all the zeros and you have a score of 1000 on the far right, you should be good since all 5 vermin are worth 200 points apiece. Once you have 1000 points, hold up the Gorgofex and then hold X on the blue orb right there. The essence is going to be transferred from the metal whatever this is to the Gorgofex. Whatever you do, do not shoot a single bullet out of this Gorgofex, or else you're going to have to restart the process. All we need to do is take it from the particle accelerator all the way to the teleporter room. Once we're in the teleporter room, do a charge shot on the portal to remove the crystals. Once the crystals are removed, we can start with part 2. For part 2, we're going to need the Gorgofex again. And in the quantum processing, you're going to look towards the ceiling for the hole that leads from the mutant research down to the quantum processing. If you find this hole, you're going to see a room that has a railing. You simply need to use a charge shot of the Gorgofex to hit the railing. If that is done correctly, you're going to see a head fall from the sky, or that room rather, and just fall to the floor. You need to pick up this head. For this next part, we need to find a mop bucket. There are 3 total spawns. The first one is going to be in the mess hall right here. The second one is going to be in the Klauss assembly, close to where you get launched out of the cannon from the quantum processing. And then the third one is going to be in the spawn. With this mop bucket, we need to lead it under a sprinkler. These sprinklers will randomly activate, putting water into their mop buckets. However, there is a way to bypass this in case the sprinklers don't activate with whatever much time. It's as simple as a smoke detector. There's one in each room paired to each mop bucket. For the mess hall, it's in this zombie barricade right here. For the Klauss assembly, it's right next to the vending machine in this barricade right here. And then for the spawn, it's going to be in this barricade right here. To set off these sprinklers, you just need to throw a grenade into these barricades. The one in spawn has another goofy way of setting this sprinkler off though. You can punch this out at the start of any game and simply walk through the metal detectors and that'll cause the sprinklers to go off. Once you fill up the mop bucket with water from the sprinklers, you need to place the head in one of these mop buckets and then you can pick it back up. I prefer the one that's right outside the quantum processing, that way you can just grab the head and go to that one since it's right there. Now, what needs to happen is you need to fill it with souls continuously until it is done collecting souls. The range for these souls is rather small. The zombies themselves need to glow purple in order for them to reach the head. You know you've finished filling the head when you're going to hear this strange line.
Reservation wins again!
And no, that didn't come from anywhere. That came from the zombie head. Now, we need to carry this head all the way to the teleporter once it's full of souls. If you, by any means, see yourself encased in black, drop the head. You will take severe damage loss if you hold on for it for too long. But once we reach the teleporter room, we need to interact with the portal to place the head onto the portal. This will not be able to go on the portal if you have the crystals still on the portal. That's why we did the Gorgofex charge shot first. Make sure that happens every game for you guys. Now that we have the head placed, we have 2 parts of the 4 parts done. We're going to go on to the third part. For the third part, we need to assemble a Franken-Klauss. There are 2 arms and 2 legs. For the 2 arms, we need to wait for a Commando Klauss round. The first Klauss round is going to spawn between round 5 and round 6, and then the second Klauss round is between 10 and 12. During the Commando Klauss round, you could shoot off one of the arms on a Commando Klauss and then kill the Commando Klauss. If they drop an arm, you did it successfully. If not, that's fine. Another way to get a Commando Klauss is during the Gorgofex lockdown with the Forsaken. If you take too long, Commando Klausses will spawn, so you can get an arm then if you haven't been able to get an arm. Once you have the 2 arms, we could find the 2 legs. Each leg has 2 spawns. All spawns can be found in Klauss Assembly. The first spawn is around the armor station right here. Go over to this far corner. You're going to see it behind this object. For the second spawn, we're going to go over to the assembly line itself, go all the way back to this corner. You're going to see it on the top shelf of this bookshelf right here. For the third spawn, we need to go right in front of the elevator, and it's going to be in this box right here. And then finally, for the fourth spawn, we need to go to the bottom half of the jet cannons, where the vending machine is, and you're going to see the Klauss leg hanging in this doorway. Once we have all 4 limbs, we can put them on the Klauss. Now, these can be added one at a time, so you don't have to hold all of them and then place them. Just keep that in mind. But once we have the 4 limbs placed, we need to have an Uber Klauss shock it with its electrical attack. The electric shock needs to be within the parameters of the Franken-Klauss. If it's done correctly, Franken-Klauss should speak and then start typing on the computer next to where you assembled him. What Klauss is doing is rerouting a S.A.M trial to the entity containment. When the S.A.M trial is rerouted, you need to escort Klauss to the entity containment in order to start the S.A.M trial. The S.A.M trial is always the same. Kill zombies in the area. It acts like a normal S.A.M trial, so you don't have to worry about the best rewards, but if you want to go for the best rewards, that's also fine. Anyway. Once the S.A.M trial is concluded, Klauss will automatically go into the teleporter room, and now we're on the final part. For the final component, we're going to need a brain. And for this brain, we're going to need melee macchiato, and then we need to go into quantum computing. You're going to go up to this computer here and punch it over with melee macchiato. It cannot be anything else. Once it's open, you need to grab the brain, and you're going to walk it to the teleporter room. Over time, the brain is going to shrink and then eventually disappear if you lose it. Also with this, do not swap weapons. If you were to swap weapons while holding the brain will disappear, and then you'll need to flip the round, or maybe 2 rounds to try again. But with the brain in hand, take it to the teleport room and place it in this box that looks exactly the same. Now that we have all 4 components, Klauss is going to open up these Casimir vacuum seal device boxes. That's the best way I can describe it. Anyway, there is 1 vacuum seal chamber in every single room, including the teleporter room. For the second room, we're going to go to entity containment, And this box can be found close to where you shoot the free insta-kill power-up right here next to the window barricade. For the executive suites, it's right here close to Elemental Pop and the Arsenal Station. For Klauss Assembly, you go to the Wonder Fizz location and look in this corner over here. That's where you'll find it. And Quantum Computing, you go to the back balcony. It's going to be right here. For Mutant Research, it's going to be right here close to PhD Flopper. For the Spawn, it's going to be right here where you do the Gorgofex C quest. And then finally, for the last one, it's going to be in the Pack-a-Punch room. It's going to be right here next to Vulture Raid. We need to grab one of these vacuum seal devices and find a purple object. With these purple objects, they can only spawn in the Spawn, the Executive Suites, and the Mutant Research Lab. Those 3 floors. All we need to do is pick up one of these Pokeballs, throw them at the purple objects in question, and then pick up their essence. If you were to get too close to these purple objects, they will stun you and then they'll hop away. The moment we have 4 vacuum sealed devices, we are ready to go for the final step. And for the final step, we need to be in the teleporter room. Place the vacuum sealed devices in this canister right here, and it will start the final process. This is now kind of a lockdown, kind of not. You don't need to kill zombies in here, but what we need to do are activate the 5 switches in the room. You're going to hear one loud switch buzz, and then you need to interact with it the moment you see it. Over time, another switch is going to spawn in, and then it's just a game of waiting. However, I know there's a trick to speed this up. It's as simple as interact with the first one and keep interacting with every other switch as fast as you can, and that'll speed up the process dramatically. I don't remember exactly how it works, so that's just something that's there. Anyway, once all the switches have been activated, your screen is going to flash white, and now we're ready for boss fight. Just get your perks, any perk you want to bring in, and then for crafting items, craft a death machine, and make sure to craft lightning on your gun, whatever gun you want to use. It's going to help in the boss fight. When everybody's ready, solo or co-op, go ahead and interact with the portal to enter the boss fight arena. When you're in here, you're going to walk up to the sensitive artifact and interact with it, and it's going to ask you press up to aid Richtofen or press down to aid S.A.M. You want to aid Richtofen. This is going to be for the S.A.M boss fight. When this happens, you're going to drop S.A.M's DNA and put in Richtofen's DNA, and then it'll start the sequence. This is a 3-floor sequence until we get to the boss fight itself. For the first floor, it's going to be 3 soul boxes. They are LTG devices from Liberty Falls. One's right next to the Arsenal Station right here. The second one and the third one are in the 2 corners on the floor. When you fill up one LTG device, it's going to look like this. And then when you fill up all 3, Richtofen will speak to you, trying to hurry you along and tell you it's time to go to the second floor. For the second floor, we need to find Ethereum crystals that are blocking power to the device. They're scattered across the room. If you see no lights flashing from this light bulb, you need to shoot it because that's a crystal. If you see lights like this that are flashing like this, then it's not something you need to shoot. The moment you shoot one, there are going to be multiple zombies that spawn in. Just be careful. On this floor, there is a crafting table and a Wonder Fizz in case you forgot a perk or need to craft something. But once you shoot up all the crystals on alongside the wall on this floor, you can then go back to the elevator with the sensitive artifact and get on the 3rd floor. The 3rd floor is the boss fight arena. For S.A.M's boss alone, there aren't too many times that you have a chance to shoot her. This is a game of cat and mouse. It's all about the patience here. However, let me discuss with you the times you can shoot her. The first time you can shoot her is when she enters the boss fight arena. You can see her coming out of an ether portal right here. You can shoot her bottom side until she becomes immune. The second and third time to attack her comes with her attacks. For the second time to attack her, she'll do a spinning animation where she starts at the center. You're going to hear this noise. And then she'll start spinning and shooting electric bolts. With this, you can shoot her underside, and for the first phase, she's just going to spin up and down on top of the Sentinel artifact. After that, in the second and third phase, there are going to be formations. I know there's like a Z formation. I couldn't get that one on camera, but there's a triangle formation. There's a left and right formation. you got to be very aware of which formation it is because it's random after the first phase. And then for the second time to attack her, it's going to be the laser attack. Just like the SAM trap from Shattered Veil, she's going to shoot a giant red laser at you until she overheats. And when she overheats, I would recommend you guys popping an Ether Shroud because at this point we are able to shoot the 4 exposed vents on her. They're marked in red. If you shoot these critical spots, at least with an assault rifle like I am, you're going to hit for 1,000 damage a bullet. For the death machine, it's 1,400 damage a bullet. Make sure you're hitting these as much as you can. Now let's talk about that trick with retaliation. For retaliation, it goes for this step alone, this little attack here. You need to have her damage you with the laser until you're at low health. And then pop the Ether Shroud. What's going to happen is SAM will stop mid-laser, and then all the vents will just be open anyway. It's kind of a neat trick. So you'll be able to excess damage if you have retaliation on. It's a nice way to cheat the system. Now, with this laser attack, it has another advantage to it. If you're able to destroy all 4 vents, her middle laser will be exposed and glowing red until you pop it. You can still do damage to this red laser even though she is immune. Take this to your advantage whenever you can. Now, this next part, I wouldn't call it an attack, but it's something she can do in the middle of the fight. I think it happens during the second phase, where there will be some times where she just teleports back into the ether, and then later on she's going to drop 3 blue circles from the ether. When this happens, you need to look into the circles and watch where the zombies are falling. Wherever the zombies do not fall, that's where she is going to come out of. And when that happens, you can shoot her on her underside until she grants herself immunity again. This attack of sorts will happen again in the third phase, but instead of 3 portals, it becomes 6. You still need to do the same thing. It's a little harder to catch, so if you can't catch it, that's fine. Just focus on the zombies, kill them all so you can get your equipment, whatever ones you brought in to help you out, and then you can focus on SAM again. Now that we know how to attack her, let's talk about the other attacks. There's one attack where she just shoots little bolts at you. You're going to hear this sound. That sound will be multiplied by 2 for every phase. So for the first phase, let's say she shoots 4. The next phase, she'll shoot 8. And then the third phase, she'll shoot 12. It gets more and more aggressive over time. Just be cautious of that one. And then there's one more attack that she can do that only appears in the third phase. This attack is what I call the blue bolt. For the blue bolt, you're going to hear this noise first. And then afterwards, she's going to shoot 3 blue bolts somewhere in the area. If you get hit by one of these, you're going to shoot into the sky and be popped with an ether shroud in order to get back down. But SAM is going to try to shoot you out of the sky. Just fall down. If you have free fall, just fall down immediately. Don't worry about fall damage. If you don't, activate your parachute and then you can fall down gracefully. Now let's talk about how these phases work. As I said earlier, it's a game of cat and mouse. You're just doing chip away damage over and over again until the phase ends. When the phase ends, she'll go into the ether portal like I mentioned before, but there will be no health bar. And when this happens, the music will change and then a SAM trial is going to spawn. If you do not complete the SAM trial at hand to the max level, you'll get a weapon nerf, and it is a 100% weapon nerf. So for example, if you have the Maelstrom that does 500 damage, it'll be brought down to 50 damage with all your perks. It's a very devastating nerf, so at that point, just hold off on firing your gun until you have the nerf gone. But if you're able to successfully do the trial, there's going to be a free perk that has dropped on the map. So make sure you find it, and then that way you can get any perk you may have lost. For the SAM trials, they can be critical damage, hold the location, get kills on the location, or kill fest. Those 4. With all that being said and done, once you've finally chipped off the final bit of damage on SAM, she'll just fall to the floor, and then you'll have successfully done the Reckoning Easter egg. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.